Hey boys, welcome back to some more Nrl Supercoach. It's going to be the round 15 preview, and we've got some decisions to make. We'll go through potential trades for this week, and also we'll look at next week's plan as well to an extent, because it very much ties in because there's just so much uncertainty with a lot of the trades for this week that are a bit risky. We'll look at sits and starts because, I mean, we have a pretty deep squad, so even with a bit of carnage, we do have, we got a couple of decisions to make there. And the most important thing in Supercoach, which I still whinge about constantly, I still hate, but captain and vice captain, because that's the defining factor on Supercoach. But Alright, so let's get into what we are looking at. So, dummy halves. Damien Cook. Obviously, we're keeping Cook. There is now... I mean, again, the New South Wales team, it could be anything. I don't know what they're going to do. If for some reason... I can't see it happening, but if Fittler did end up selecting like Cody Walker, Reynolds in the halves, which I know there is a bit of talk, but I just can't see it. I really can't see that happening. If that did end up happening, though, I wouldn't be shocked to see Damien Cook regain a spot in the team. Maybe starting dummy half, maybe off the bench, but if it happens, it happens. He doesn't play round 16 anyway, so it's sort of a moot point, so it is what it is. But I don't know. We'll see. Even if those two aren't selected, there is the chance now that Hines, like, he's not going to pick Hines on the bench again. Well, I would be shocked if he did. I think either Hines starts or he could be 18th man, which would be a pain in the ass. But if that happens, there is a bench utility spot. Now, personally, I think he'll just put Matt Burton on the bench. I think that makes more sense, but he could resort back to the two dummy halves again. Cook might get a spot on the bench, but it's a wait and see on that one. Harry Grant, I'm still... I don't know what we're doing with Grant. I mean, this week we're obviously going to hold Grant for the game against the Sharks. I mean, is he going to have a big game? I don't know. Like, he's been shocking. He's got 234s back to back with a bye in between. So it's been a rough hold of Grant, but we're holding him this week. Hopefully he has a big bounce back, and next week, I don't know. If there's a good option that comes through, maybe. But honestly, the only dummy half I would really want is Jeremy Marshall-King. He doesn't play round 16 anyway, so maybe we just don't run a dummy half, which doesn't really matter for that round, because, I mean, there's Robson. I mean, we could take the plunge and just go for a Robson, but I don't know. We'll decide that next week. That's the next week trade potential. The front row, so Harris and Tarpany, they're both sticking around. Harris, obviously, with the injury concern, might be the only issue, but Tarpany getting big minutes, but it leaves us, front row, not too many options for round 16. Fainu, thankfully, I think he's still got that starting back row spot for the foreseeable future. Kalman Tuolangi's gone still for a while. Ben Trebojevic is obviously out for a while. So, Fainu, I think it's just a great... if you don't own, I mean, I would still look at getting in Fainu in the front row. 220k. Can't go wrong, and he'll be a very handy number next week. Franklin Pele, I mean... He's just there. It's fine. Honestly, like, the front row, if he doesn't play another game this season, which I'm sure he will and stuff me over, but it doesn't matter. Like, honestly, having one front row and not play as an auto emergency type loop, I think it's okay. I think it's okay for now. The back row, so Johnny Bateman, Ali Katoa, obviously they're sticking around. They're good buy coverage players and potential keepers. We'll see how they track. Jackson Ford is a guy I think's got to go. Obviously, he played 80 minutes last week, but that was due to Rocco Berry getting knocked out and Josh Curran going into the center spot. So with a full, with a full strength team, I just can't see Ford continuing the 80 minutes. I mean, Curran's too good not to play more minutes. I mean, maybe they stick him with 80 minutes and Niokore gets more of a spell, but, I mean, come on. Niokore also, I think, is too good not to play more minutes than Ford. Ford's good. He's very solid, but I think out of Ford, Curran, and Niokore, you can't be playing Ford 80 minutes and the other two, like, reduced minutes, I think. So, Ford's time in the sun is getting by. Because they do cover after this bye. They cover nicely, so he's not an automatic sell. But I think in my team, he's the most obvious trade because he plays. So against the Raiders this week, doesn't play 16, plays 17, which is good. It's handy for after that bye. 18 against Rabbits, 19 against Para, and he plays 20 in the backup. So again, if you got more pressing trades, I think holding forward and just not having that number for 16 is fine because he covers nicely the rest. But he's not going to be a fantastic number over the buys anyway. So I think forward for a lot of people, I think he's approaching that sell. Hilm Lukey, we're just gonna hold. Obviously, you got the buy this week, which is actually pretty handy for us. So he's not going to lose cash. And then next week, he's just a free play. If the minutes are down again, then we'll definitely look at getting him off after next week. But he's a free play. He could go massive in reduced time. Hopefully, surely he plays more than 30 minutes. I still don't understand that rotation at all. He is far too good to be playing 30 fucking minutes. But we'll see. He's a free play next week, so there's no real need to trade him out now. So it's fine. Bryce Cartwright, obviously, I mean, he is he going to be a season keeper? I mean, probably not, but he's definitely going to be a keeper until all the Eels boys come back, and they cover the buys so well now. I mean, it's definitely Eels time. Look at the coverage now. It's insane. They play this week 15, 16, 16 the major buy, 17 the backup, which is always a tricky one. They don't play 18, which is fine. Missing 18 is perfect because it's after the backup game, so your origin players should be fresh and good to go. 19 cover the buy, 20 on the backup again, and then 21. I mean, they play the rest of the season. I think they missed 27. Yeah, the final round, so it's fine. Cartwright, I'm sure they'll all come back, and Cartwright maybe goes back to the bench, but hopefully he can get me through the bulk. And if not, we can trade up to. I mean, if Madison does come back, Sean Lane, I don't know how long he was out for. It was a fair bit, so we'll see what happens there. Josh Schuster, obviously holding. Again, covers the buys nicely and is a good play for the buys because he could go massive, and if he goes small, who cares? He's a number. Hines and Cleary. So Cleary is obviously a sell now. He's out for 6 weeks. He's just a sell. Nico Hines, I think. I mean, again, it does depend on origin, but even if he does, I would expect him to be the number 7. Again, I'd be shocked if he wasn't the number 7. If he is, I still don't know if I'm going to sell him just because, who do you sell to? I guess you could run the combo of Sean Johnson and Mitch Moses. Yes, but I don't know. I think with Cleary gone, obviously we trade Cleary, and I think Hines we just hold. Obviously he misses quite a few games, but you're going to want Hines anyway, so you got to trade him out and then trade him back in regardless. So I think with this Cleary situation, Hines is he's just a hold for me at this point, pending what happens, but we'll see. Now, Cleary, there's a lot. We'll come back to Cleary with the trade discussion because I'm probably going to hold Cleary this week just with the uncertainty around the halfback spot. Then we move on to the 5'8". So yeah, the 5'8", Cody Walker, obviously a hold. Again, he could. I don't see Fittler bringing back Walker. I just think I don't know. Walker is obviously... I would say Walker is the form 5'8" in the comp this year. And it's like, mate, he should deservingly be picked. But I just think... just with his... I don't know. His discipline at times and just the way he can play if they're not on the front foot. I just can't... I don't see... Fittler bringing Walker back into that team. I just can't see it. But again, you know, with Mitchell there, Walker, there is combinations, but I don't know. Again, we'll see what happens there if Walker gets selected. Dylan Brown has been named. I don't, you know, his court date was today when I'm making this video, so we'll find out more about Brown. I mean, at the end of the day, if he is stood down and is going to miss weeks, then I think he's a sell. If not, then obviously you're going to hold him. So he's a wait and see. The centre wing, so Ruben Garrick, he has been put into the centres this week against the Dolphins, which, yeah, it's not great, but I don't know. With Chaboyevich playing as well, I'm not too... I don't know. I still can see him going pretty big in this game regardless, but you'd rather him on the wing, but he's in the centres, so it is what it is. Alex Johnston, I mean, you know, he doesn't play round 16, but he is a hold for now. He's got a couple of good scores back-to-back. He's going to make money. You know, he is a guy that you could look at selling, because how do the Rabbits, how do they cover that? You know, not 16... which isn't necessarily that bad because they do play 17 against the Cowboys, not a bad game, 18, and then they cover 19, but not 20. So honestly, Johnston, sort of mid-term plans, I think after 19, potentially you could look at selling, but their run home's pretty good. I mean, the Broncos tough, Tigers could be tough, Sharks, you don't know, and then Dragons, Newcastle, I don't know. It's sort of an up and down draw. So I don't know, Johnston after 19 you could look at selling potentially, just because he's just too reliant on tries. If we're being honest, he's too reliant on tries, which he does score a lot. But it is what it is. Joey Manu obviously had a shocker, but was he named a 5'8"? Yeah, I think he was named a 5'8" again. And I mean, he's obviously a hold, like over Origin. He will... I don't know, it's going to be interesting to see what happens there. Like, they could put Suoli'i back to fullback if they want to keep Manu at 5'8". I would rather them put Manu at fullback, but either way, I think, obviously, Manu's a hold. Like, he doesn't look good. He doesn't look good at all. Like, even, like, people were talking him up, even if he didn't go to 5'8". They were saying he was a buy in the centers. I fucking disagree entirely. I think he looks awful. Like, he just looks underdone. Like, he's never been the quickest, like, outside back, right? He's never had that extreme speed, but I don't know, just even like the tackle breaking, the offloading, it's all down. Like, he's not really, I don't know, the strength is not there that it used to be. Okay, I'm back. I had a delivery. A delivery came, so dog was going crazy. Had to go get it. What the hell was I talking about? Manu. I think I said most of it, right? He hasn't looked good, but you still obviously hold. He, you know, as a purchase, I still think you could get Manu. If you're not on him already, I think there's worse potential trade-ins, just because you know he is the potential just to go massive. You know, he hasn't shown it, but he did this last year. Like, he didn't look, his scores were obviously not great last year for a decent chunk, and then all of a sudden he just comes out bang and goes massive. So I don't, you know, if you don't own Manu, the trade-in, not the worst. And the Roosters, let's just have a refresher. What do they cover? They cover very nicely. Obviously, 15, 16, 17, that's lovely. 18. They don't cover 19, so be a little wary. But then they cover the 20 backup game. So Roosters players are obviously pretty crucial as well, I would say. Taruva, I mean... we've stuck it out with Taruva for the long run. I know a lot of people probably sold him. Probably a lot of people sold him around this time against the Tigers where he got that 28. We've just held firm, and he's just started to repay the faith. 47, his base was pretty good that game. 65, 78, he finally went okay against my Bronx, and then a 60. He got a try for kick, of course, but Taruva obviously a hold for the bye. I don't think the Panthers... So, yeah, they cover 16 to 17. Again, very nice. And then, they're sort of like the Roosters, honestly. Yeah, they're like exactly like the Roosters. So, round 19, obviously no Roosters, no Penrith. So, don't absolutely load up on those two teams. And then, Val Holmes, the fact he's got 150 in his score now, I don't know. Do you just hold Val Holmes and just keep him? Because he is a keeper. Like, let's be real. He is a keeper for the season. He's just got that base in him. He's got the upside in him. His score's been pretty solid throughout. He had one shocker here, 26, but the rest have been over 50. Well, against the Bronx, but over 50, 60 points. And then a couple of big tons. Well, 1 ton and then one big one. They obviously doesn't play 16 with Origin, but backs up against Rabbits. And then Tigers in 18, which he went shocking against. They have the bye in 19 anyway, so that's fine. And then he plays the backup in 20, 21. So, I don't know. What does their run home like? Para, Gold Coast, Broncos, Sharks, Dolphin, Penrith. I don't know. Val Holmes is a tricky one because, if you look at your top 4 centre wings, he is probably in the top 4. So again, do you want to trade him out and then trade him back in? At this point, I don't know. Maybe I'll just hold him. Jared Croker. So Croker, we did want to sell last week, but it just made more sense to get rid of Bird. Croker, this game, his 300th against the Warriors at GIO Stadium. I'm probably going to play him just because, surely he's got a big one in him, right? And then am I going to sell him next week? Who have they got? So, yeah, don't cover 16, but again, they cover the backup, 17, 18, 19, but then they don't cover 20. So, they're a tricky one, honestly, the Raiders. I think after this week, he is a sell. Just because, yeah, they missed 16, they missed 20, which is a tricky week as well. I don't know. I could see the merit in holding, though, for 19. Billy Smith, like Manu, obviously I'm holding. I think some decent scores are coming. Like, he was close to getting a try assist and getting a try that game. His base was pretty good, so... Billy Smith's still fine. Dream Buller, man, oh man. Is he a keeper now? Like, his base stats are so good. And then, the Tigers are starting to look a little bit dangerous with ball in hand. So, Buller's looking excellent. And again, like, if you don't own Buller, I still think he's a pretty good trade in this week against the Titans. And then Gutherson, we're obviously keeping Gutherson until after Origin. And then we'll look at who's the best fullback option to bring in, I guess. But Buller, Tigers miss 17. So again, you don't want to load up on Tigers, Sharks, and Bulldogs for 17. Then they play... they play Storm in 16, which is pretty good. The Storm have been pretty fucking terrible regardless, and they're going to miss Munster and Grant. So, not a bad game for the Tigers. 18 Cowboys, they play 19, they play 20. It's a pretty good run. The 19 game against the Sharks will be pretty tricky. They will miss Hines, well, presumably, but not many else. So that could be a tough one. And then Newcastle. So, yeah, Bull is staying for the foreseeable future. So, what are we doing? So, like I said, Cleary's got to go. But honestly, the only guy... Well, I guess there's two, right? Sean Johnson... He's averaging 70. He's coming off a big 127. The thing with Johnson, one, he doesn't play 16, which isn't necessarily that bad because, again, I think we have 13 players at the moment. So we're looking okay. Play 17, 18, 19, 20. So that's beautiful. But what have his score? Like, his scores have been good, but... I just... Because let's look at the low scores. So a 60 against the Roosters, still good. 41 against the Cows. 42 against Melbourne, 31 against Roosters. He got 71 against the Panthers, so, you know, it's pretty good against Penrith. And then 39 against the Bronx. I don't know. I just can't see myself going Johnson. I just can't see him keeping it up. They got Raiders this week, then Dragons in 17, which is a good matchup. Rabbits, Parramatta. Parramatta's a tough one on the bye because, again, they're not going to be missing too many players, barring injuries, of course. Sharks, Raiders, Gold Coast Tigers. I understand the purchase of him. He is 640k. That is pretty damn cheap for a guy averaging 70. I mean, look at Moses is averaging 70, and he's 760k. So... Again, when they score the points is so critical for their price, man. Obviously, Johnson's due for a big price rise. I just prefer Moses. I really do. He covers so well. He covers all of them. 15, 16, 17, 18. No, he doesn't play 18, which is fine. Then 19, 20. And it's a good draw. Like 15 against the Dogs, 16 against Manly with no players, 17 against the Dolphins, which... I mean, Dolphins are sturdy. 19 against Warriors. That'll be a tough one. The Warriors will be unaffected. And then 20 against the Gold Coast. It's just hard not to go him. He's coming off a couple of big games. 130 and a 95. Obviously, it's only really the one out. Well, two. He got 16 against Melbourne in the game one. And then he got 17 against Gold Coast. I know he got concussed in that game, but he was still on for a shitty score. That's the only worry with Moses, right? He does have these in a 34. I mean, Johnson's had a few low ones, but he's not a 20-point scorer, right? Well, at least not yet. But Moses, I think, typically he does go bigger more often than Johnson. I just prefer Moses. But here's the fucking trick, though. Do you bring Moses in this week when... You know, there's rumors now that Moses is a sneaky backup now for Cleary. Maybe. Phil Gould's come out and said he would pick Mitchell Moses, and you know Fittler is going to listen to Phil Gould to an extent. I'm not saying Gould's going to pick the team or anything, but you know they would have a decent say in who gets picked. So, I think... But they play the Bulldogs... I mean, it's not necessarily about the money because I've got plenty of cash in the bank, but Moses is going to go up a lot this week. He plays the Bulldogs, so he could get another big score. It's a tricky one. It's a tricky situation for this week, and I'm not sure. Do I just hold off a week? Just make sure, because I would be absolutely screwed. I wouldn't be screwed, but it would be fucking annoying if you bring Moses in this week and all of a sudden he makes Origin for Game 2. It would really stuff the buy. But yeah, I think Cleary to Moses is my trade. I don't know. I can get around the Johnson one, but personally, I'd prefer Moses. Now, the back row, there's definitely some good back row options, and this is what I was talking about with Jackson Ford to probably Britton Nickera. I think Nickera is just the best option. I mean, he just continues to score well, even without tries. He finds himself like on the wing a lot, and he gets a lot of fucking line breaks on the wing. Like it's insane. I mean, going back to Preston, I don't hate either. I mean, he's averaging 60. He's 120k less. But, I don't know. I still feel with Preston, like, his debut season, he copped a few knocks a few weeks ago. He looks pretty fresh now. Like, he looks fine. But, you know, new guys like that, typically, they do sort of fall away. I'm not saying he's going to look, like, his form's going to fall away, but I just think a lot of times their Supercoach stocks they just dwindle a little bit as the season goes on. So I'm not that keen. Obviously Hopgood is still a fantastic buy-in option. And actually I gotta be honest, I probably prefer the Hopgood trade than Nrl. Because again, he covers the buys so well. The only thing is that now with, again, it's tricky. I think Nrl is safe as houses, right? He covers the buys. He misses 17. So again, don't stock up on Sharks and Bulldogs players. But I'm not going to have too many, so it's fine. Hopgood covers so well. And with Eels forward still being out, he's going to play massive minutes. The only issue with Jai Arrow and Gilbert being out, now I still don't think Hopgood gets a go, but it wouldn't shock me. I mean, look at the scores, dude. 78, 74, he's playing 80 minutes. The week before, 81. I mean, my man's just an absolute gun, but it does rely on minutes. Anyone else tickle the fancy here? Not really. I mean, fucking Lachlan Fitzgibbon. Is he back from injury this week? I mean, I wanted to start him at the start of the year. He's actually gone down because he's... What did he do? Yeah, he got injured. Did he get injured in that game? He only played 51 minutes, then 56. He got 27. He was on fire, but nah, I wouldn't go Fitzgibbon. It's just fucking too risky. I mean, we'll Ponga back in. I don't hate it, but nah, I wouldn't do it. The other guy, Keon Kolomatangi. Oh, I would love to bring Kolomatangi, but again, I feel like I don't think he's a certainty to make Origin, but man, if I was picking the team, I would have Kolomatangi straight in, dude. I would have him straight in on the bench. He can play middle. He can play edge. I would 100% be picking Kolomatangi. So, doesn't mean he's going to get picked, but I couldn't bring in Kolomatangi this week because I think he's such a big shout for Origin. Is there anyone else? I mean, Ryan Madison, I don't know when he's due back, but I would like to bring Madison in. But again, we don't. I'm not too sure of that. I'll have to double check when he's due back. Because you just know he's going to play good minutes and score well regardless. But yeah, so the back row, Jackson Ford to one of those guys, definitely an option. And then center wing. So this is where it's tricky though, because I do want to bring in probably the guy I'm leaning towards is Talakai at the moment. But who do I trade? Do I just get rid of Croker now? I know I was going to hold him, or do I just get rid of Holmes? Because I want to keep Manu, Taruva, Garrick for the buys. I mean, Johnston. I think you keep Johnston while the price is good. Do you just trade Holmes? I think you do, right? Maybe not. So we look at highest score or highest price. So I mean, Azarko fucking thank God Azarko doesn't play round 16. So everybody that owns him won't get a fucking ton. So Talakai, I mean, he got 58 points. Looks strong back from injury. He did go up 50k, which is annoying. Nick Meaney, 86 points. But again, the Storm, they don't cover the buys that well. They play 16. They play 7. So they play 16 and 17, which is nice. They don't play 19. I mean, it's as good as the Sharks, honestly, because the Sharks cover the same amount. They just miss 17 rather than 19. So take your poison, I guess. But who would you rather? Nick Meaney? Talakai? Nick Meaney's going to be playing without Munster and Grant. Yeah, I don't actually like the Meaney trade in. Like, he looks so good. I think did he score 2 tries or 1 try? He had a try assist. Like, he was in everything that game, but he still only scored 86 points. I don't know. For the price, I mean, Talakai probably doesn't have the ceiling either, but Mulatalo, maybe you just go Mulatalo, right? Like, Mulatalo, fuck, he bombed some tries, but he does have the ceiling to an extent. Has he cracked a ton this year? No, he hasn't. He he could have though. I think looking at this, he's now cheaper than Talakai. I think Mulatalo is the play. 15 against Storm, 16 against the Doggies, doesn't play 17 again. Dragons, Tigers, Warriors, Manly. It's not the easiest run for the Sharks coming up, but I think out of those, I think I'm leaning Mulatalo. Now, Marju, I got to be honest, I am keen on Marju as well. I mean, his scores are fucking... He does have the ceiling. And with Ponga not going to play Origin this year, there is going to be more tries to be had. He doesn't, like, 39, his lowest score against Para. He got 42 against Penrith, which is very good. He's got Broncos this week, which isn't easy. He's got Roosters in the bye, which is also tough. They're going to be missing not that many players. Penrith in the backup. Ugh. 18 Dogs. They don't play 19. You know what? Looking at that draw, I mean, he could, if he scores a try, like, he's going to go big regardless, so it's not necessarily a bad trade, but I think Mulatalo just looks a little bit more friendly for the price. So, yeah. And then I guess Isaac Tungo. Isaac Tungo was the guy I was actually keen on last week, but obviously he had like 140 break even, so he's dropped 64k. I actually like the Tungo pickup potentially. I don't know. What do they do? 15 Roosters, Cowboys and 16 without Origin players. They play 17 against Newcastle, which is pretty good. 18 Melbourne. Don't play 19, then 20 against the Dolphins, Bulldogs. Fuck, I don't hate Tungo actually. Oh man, but this is so bottom line at the moment is that I'm looking at a halfback for Cleary, a centre wing for I think I'm just going to go Holmes. I think that's just the smart decision. And then a second row for Jackson Ford. And we got plenty of cash. We got 512. And then front row, I mean, I was keen on like a Max King, but he has not shown anything since coming back from injury. There's not too many other guys I'm that keen on either. So, yeah. And then the dummy halves, I mean, again, next week we'll toss it up. So that's the thing. I've got it at the moment. So one center wing, one half, one back row. That's 3 trades, right? And then potentially a dummy half, so 4. So if we wanted to make 4 trades, we do have to make 1 trade this week and 3 next week. So that's the only thing you got to consider. Like, you might hold off, but you got to make sure if you don't have like a boost left, don't leave yourself with like 5 trades to make next week and all of a sudden you're like, oh, I can't do it. So I think we are going to make 1 trade this week. I don't see myself making 2. The only second trade I might just pull the pin on is Moses in for Cleary, just with the potential upside against the Dogs. Don't hate it. And then we work out if we trade Holmes for Mulatalo, if we trade Ford for Nickera, yeah, I think that's pretty much it. And then if we trade... So if we bring in one more... So Sharkies, we'll only have... So Mulatalo and Nickera at worst. Actually, I think actually what I'm going to do... no, Rabbits don't play next week. I was like, I'll bring in Kalamatsangi next week. But no, they don't play 16, so... No. So let's say we bring in Nickera and Mulatalo in the next 2 weeks, right? We'll have 1, 2, 3... 3 Sharkies, we'll have 2 Tigers, and we'll have no Bulldogs, apart from Pele. So that's fine. We'll have 5 players who are going to miss the bye, which I think is less than last time, which is honestly fine. Obviously, I guess Kiraz as well. I didn't mention Kiraz, potentially an option, but I just can't. I can't go to Kiraz this week with the injuries. His break-even's still like 50, so he's not going to blow it out of the water. I think Kiraz is a guy you can wait on. So yeah, I think overall we're looking okay. I just got to decide if I want to bring in a Mulatalo or a Nickera. I don't know. We'll look at Ford's break-even. I probably want to get rid of... I don't know. Maybe we just do 2 trades, because I do want to get rid of Ford, because I just think the minutes are going to come down, and I think Holmes... Maybe. The Sharkies play Melbourne. I don't know. It's not... Surely Melbourne are going to fire up this game. I'm torn, but other than that, there's not too much else. Like, I just got to work it out. Vice captain, captaincy, so I think it's just going to be, for me, Cody Walker vice captain against the Dragons and Nico Hines captain against the Storm. Playing against his old club, their defense hasn't been great. I think they're going to fire up, but it's still, I don't know, you can't just fix defensive, like, structure in like 1 week. So I still think Hines will score well. There's no one else I really like. I mean, Buller as vice captain against the Titans. Don't hate it. Who else? Canberra Warriors. I mean, I wouldn't go Johnson in the 300 game for Croker. Take upon him fucking Croker vice captain. Manly. I mean, if you still own Tom Trbojevic, you'd 100% go vice captain on Tom Trbojevic, I'd say. Ruben Garrick to an extent, maybe. Playing in centres. Cody Walker, obviously. Broncos... If you have Walsh still, would be a good option. Penrith Roosters. And I still think Manu is okay as a vice captain, but I wouldn't do it. And then, yeah, if you own Moses against the Dogs, it's such a huge risk to fucking captain Moses in the last game of the game, last game in the round, because you know he can fucking bottle it against weaker teams. But yeah, if you had Moses, you could take the punt on him as captain if you don't own Hines either. But I think it's a bit of a tricky week for captains, actually. But yeah, that'll do it. I just have to work out if I'm going to make one trade or two. And then I think, as it stands right now, we're going to be making at most 4 trades over the next 2 weeks. And then we do have to probably start saving trades a little bit, because, you know, we don't want to rip through them for the back end of the season. But I think 4 trades at most, depending what happens. Again, Dylan, I didn't even really... I sort of went off Dylan Brown, but again, we got to work out if Brown is playing. We'll find that out, I guess, later in the week or later today. I'm not too sure. When this video goes up, we probably know. But yeah, if he's out, then we'll have to decide as well what we're doing there. But yeah. Other than that, there's not too much else. I mean, the team is looking pretty good. I guess I'll go through the sit-starts for this week. Well, I haven't done the trade, so it's a bit tricky, but Buller starting, Gutherson. Yeah, we'll play Gutho. Manu Taruva against the Roosters. Yes. Johnston against... who are they playing? Dragons, yes. Garrick, obviously, we're playing. But then if we bring in... I mean, I do want to play Croker, and if I bring in Mulatalo... That's why I'm like, do I actually bring in Mulatalo this week? I'm not too sure. Cody Walker playing, Nico Hines obviously, take off Cleary, Jackson Ford. We will switch forward with Cartwright for now, just because that's the better option. Ford, if I can help it, I don't want to reserve him. Harris, Tarpany, Cook, Grant. We're obviously playing Grant. So reserves Gutherson, Grant. I mean, if Brown plays, obviously Brown, and then we'll either have like, you go Croker. I mean, Billy Smith... nah, you wouldn't go Smith against Penrith. So, Croker, Mulatalo, potentially. Jackson Ford / Bryn Nickera. Potentially. That's pretty good. Even like a Sione Fainu against the Dolphins playing on the edge. We got a pretty stacked team. Like, I think it's looking okay. But, you know... Carnage can happen, so yeah, hopefully you guys are enjoying the series. Make sure to like and comment, and hopefully you have another good week. So I'll see you guys in the next one.